Sean Haney here with Real Agriculture and Real Ag Radio on Rural Radio 147 on Sirius XM. We are at Canada's Ag Day in Ottawa, Canada. Joining me right now, fresh off the stage, is Diane Brisebois. She's president and CEO of the Retail Council of Canada. Diane, how's it going?
It's going really well.
Okay, so let's start off here. What is the Retail Council of Canada, and who do you represent?
The Retail Council of Canada is a industry association, so it's a trade association, and it represents all the retailers who do business in Canada. So general merchandise, so that would mean fashion, pharma, specialty retailers, grocery retailers, hard goods.
Yep.
So we represent the membership. It represents about 75% of all retail sales in the country. So it's a big trade association and is the voice of retail.
Yeah, and food
Yes.
is probably, I would assume, a large part of that.
Food on its own represents more than 33% of all retail sales in the country. It's a huge sector in Canada, and especially when you consider the number of players. It's a bit different than in the United States, I would say, because most of the grocery players in Canada are national, so from coast to coast. We have some amazing regional players, but generally most are national and seen as being very progressive.
So when you go to Ottawa in this city and you go to Parliament Hill,
Yes.
what kind of stuff are you lobbying for?
God.
Remember, it's a 10-minute interview.
Do we have 3 hours? What is I'm gonna say?
Like, what's your ask? What are you doing?
So some of the big issues would be, and I'm trying to think of recent issues, and I would say they are similar to the issues in many other jurisdictions around the world, and specifically the U.S. So there's a lot of conversation about changing labeling on food packaging. And in fact, the gentleman I was interviewing was discussing that. So being extremely transparent, and the government wants to be able to provide consumers with more information about what's in food. So a lot of lobbying about what should be done, how it should be done. That's a big issue. Food waste is another big discussion, both at the federal level and in the case of Canada at the provincial level. And so that's another one. Another big issue is plastics. And how do we reduce single-use plastic, which is prevalent in the grocery industry. Obviously, if you're thinking of the plastic shopping bag.
Yeah.
That's another issue. And the list goes on. So it's all about food safety. It's about information, educating consumers, ensuring that labeling front of pack has more information that helps consumers make the right choices.
Okay, so let's talk about the labeling.
Yeah.
Are you, and probably there's a whole bunch of different issues inside of this umbrella issue of labeling, but is your body more labeling for, or are you more lobbying for reduced and simpler labeling to reduce costs for the members, or are you advocating for a heightened level of labeling?
So let me answer. I'm going to try to answer both in one. I'm going to tell you most good trade organizations, and I believe Retail Council of Canada is one of them, and the grocers we represent who are very progressive. The one thing they're focused on is what is the consumer expectation? What does my customer want? Number two, how can we do it in the most efficient way possible? And how can we ensure that we understand that we don't live in a bubble, that a lot of the products that we're selling are imported from all over the world. And so this is a global supply chain. So how can we deliver? So in the case of labeling, one of the things often government won't think about, and they'll say, we want warning signs on the packaging. You go, okay, how do you do that on a packaging that's less than an inch in size? How do you replicate that? And often those are things that governments haven't thought through because they're conceptualizing. They're thinking of safeguarding the consumer, but they don't They don't know how the product is manufactured, where it comes from, and all of the issues that go with that. So that's where we get involved in getting a sense from our members on what is the right thing to do. And then, as a good association, we need to figure out then how do we work with government to make it happen. In some cases, I won't lie to you, in some cases, as with a lot of industry associations, sometimes you're at odds with the government and you're lobbying against what they're trying to
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
But, but in many cases, especially with Agriculture Canada and Health Canada, we believe that trying to bring solutions, if they have a problem, if we are not burying our heads in the sand and say, yeah, that is a perception from a consumer perspective, how do we work together?
So does the consumer, so when you look at grocers,
Yeah.
does the consumer, is it what the consumer wants, or does the grocer play a role in leading the consumer to what they feel is important? Do you know the
Yeah,
difference
so
there?
I think it's a bit of both. I think, and in fact, Michael McCain, the president of Maple Leaf Foods, was talking about it. It's understanding lifestyle changes, what people worry about, what they're thinking about, the external challenges such as climate change, and then thinking of how do I present a product that responds to those needs or those concerns, and how do I lead the way?
Mm.
So that happens. It's kind of a storm. And it's not one leading the other. It's usually kind of a complicated dance. Let's put it that way.
Were you able to take in the day here, or?
Most of the day, yes.
So what's your takeaway from Canada's Ag Day?
I thought it was a great program because it talked about some of the challenges and opportunities in agriculture in Canada throughout the value chain. And what I liked is they invited what I would call untraditional players, some Alibaba and
Yeah.
Google, and so the tech players to bring a different perspective and to talk about some of the opportunities that the agriculture industry might not think about in Canada. So new markets or new ways to go to market. And I was very encouraged by that. I think those are the kinds of trade conference days that our industries need more of.
Good points. Hey, Diane, thanks a lot. I know you got to run. Really appreciate you taking some time for us.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.